My name is Emily Thompson. I'm 42. On Tuesday, March 7th at 2:47 p.m., I was standing in my own kitchen holding a Chase Bank fraud alert on my phone when my younger brother Ryan walked through my front door without knocking, girlfriend Madison right behind him, and said 5 words that would change everything. So what? It's family money. I'd just discovered $51,327.81 missing from accounts I'd spent 15 years building. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. Ryan, this isn't family money. This is money I earned, money I saved. You stole from me. He leaned against my granite countertop, the one I'd bought with my first CPA bonus, and actually laughed. Stole? Come on, Em. You got the condo from Mom and Dad's trust. You got the business. I'm just taking my half a little early. Your half? My voice cracked. You don't have a half. I'm the trustee. I let you live in that downtown condo rent-free for 4 years while you found yourself. I gave you a job at my firm that you quit after 3 months. I raised you after Mom and Dad died. I was 19 years old, Ryan. 19. Madison stepped forward, her Gucci bag, the one I'd seen her post on Instagram last week, $2,400, tagged #BossBabes, swinging from her shoulder. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, Emily, he wouldn't have had to go behind your back. You act like you're his mother. I was his mother. The words came out flat. When he was 13 and I was working 2 jobs to keep us from losing the house, when he needed braces, when he wanted to go to college and dropped out after 1 semester with $18,000 in student loans that I paid off. Ryan pushed off the counter. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You keep score of everything. It's exhausting. Madison and I are building something real with R&M Enterprises. We needed seed capital. You weren't going to just give it to us. Because R&M Enterprises doesn't exist, Ryan. I checked. It's a shell company you created 3 months ago. You've been transferring money from our joint savings account, the one we opened for emergency house repairs, into your checking, then into this fake business account. $51,327.81. I have every transaction. He went very still. Madison's smile flickered. Then Ryan shrugged, and something about that casual gesture made my face burn so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. Then take it from my half of the trust when it pays out. Consider it an advance. Get out of my house. Gladly. He grabbed Madison's hand. Come on, babe. She's never going to see us as anything but charity cases. They walked out. I stood there for 11 minutes and 32 seconds. I know because I watched the clock. Before I finally sat down at my kitchen table and opened the 40-page forensic accounting binder I'd been compiling for the past 6 weeks. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Let me take you back 23 years to a Sunday afternoon in August. I was 19. Ryan was 13. Our parents had been dead for 4 months. Car accident on Interstate 5, drunk driver, instant. I was standing in the kitchen of the house on Ashford Street, the one with the yellow door Mom had painted herself, trying to figure out how to make spaghetti for 2 on a hot plate because the gas had been shut off. Ryan came in from the backyard. He had dirt on his knees and Mom's gardening gloves on, way too big for his hands. I planted tomatoes, he said, like Mom used to. I remember the exact way the late sun came through the window, gold and dusty. I remember thinking I had $247 in my checking account and the mortgage was due in 5 days and I had no idea what I was doing. But I smiled. That's perfect, Rye. Mom would love that. He looked up at me with those same brown eyes Mom had, and he said, Are you going to leave me too? My throat closed. I knelt down and took his hands, dirt and all. Never. I promise. We're Thompsons. We take care of each other. Always. He believed me. I believed me too. That promise lived in me for 23 years. It survived him dropping out of college. It survived him crashing my car, twice. It survived him stealing $300 from my wallet when he was 21 and swearing he'd pay it back. It survived me giving him a job at my accounting firm and him showing up late for 3 weeks straight before stopping altogether. It survived him asking to live in the downtown condo, the one Mom and Dad bought as a rental property, held in trust, and me saying yes because I thought maybe he just needed stability. What it didn't survive was March 7th at 2:47 p.m. The fraud alert had come through while I was reviewing a client's quarterly taxes. Account ending in 4738 has experienced unusual activity. Click here to review. I'd clicked, and there it was. A transfer for $287.50 to an account I didn't recognize. Then another for $195. Then another for $312. I pulled up 6 months of statements. The pattern was there, hiding in plain sight. Small amounts, never more than $350, always from our joint savings account, the one we'd opened 5 years ago when the house needed a new roof. I'd funded it with $15,000. Ryan had put in $200. Over 6 months, he'd transferred out $28,419.73. I pulled up a year of statements, $42,891.16. I pulled up 18 months, $51,327.81. Every transfer went to a checking account, then within 24 hours into something called R&M Enterprises LLC. I looked it up. Incorporation. Date, December 14th. Registered agent, Madison Reeves. Ryan's girlfriend of 8 months. The one who posted weekly photos of designer handbags, luxury brunches, and entrepreneur life selfies. I pulled up Madison's Instagram. There was my money. Cartier bracelet, $4,200. Dinner at Canlis, $680 for two. Weekend trip to Cabo, $3,100. Every post tagged with hashtag building empire, hashtag boss life, hashtag startup grind. I printed everything. Bank statements, Instagram screenshots cross-referenced with dates and amounts, the R&M Enterprises Incorporation documents I'd pulled from the Secretary of State website. I put it all in a black binder with tabbed sections: timeline, transfers, evidence, Madison's posts, corporate records. Then I sat there staring at it for 45 minutes before Ryan walked in with his key, the one I'd given him for emergencies, and told me it was family money. The next day, I went to work. Anderson and Associates, the small firm where I'd started as a staff accountant 15 years ago, right after I finished my CPA certification through night school while working full-time and raising a teenager. I was a senior manager now, overseeing 8 accountants, handling the firm's biggest clients. My boss, Richard Anderson, called me into his office at 10:15 a.m. "Emily, I got a strange call this morning. From your brother." My stomach dropped. What did he say? He wanted me to know you've been under a lot of stress, that you've been making accusations about him. He's worried about your judgment. Richard leaned back in his chair. He was 63, kind, the man who'd given me my first job when I was 22 with a high school diploma and half a college degree. "He mentioned you might need some time off." "Richard?" "I told him I'd talk to you. Are you okay?" I thought about the binder in my car, about the fraud alert, about Ryan's face when he said, "So what?" I thought about 23 years of keeping promises to someone who just tried to sabotage my career. "I'm fine," I said. "Thank you for asking." He studied me. "Emily, you've worked here for 15 years. I've never seen you miss a deadline or make a careless mistake. If you say you're fine, I believe you." Something in my chest loosened. "Thank you. But if you need anything, support, time, resources, you tell me." I nodded. I didn't tell him. Not yet. That afternoon, my phone rang. Sarah, my best friend since college. "Hey, Em, can we talk?" We met at the coffee shop on Morrison Street, the one where we'd studied for our CPA exams together. Sarah ordered her usual vanilla latte. I got black coffee I didn't drink. So, she said carefully, Jessica and I had dinner with Ryan and Madison last night. My hands tightened on the cup. Okay. They told us what's going on, about the money thing. She reached across the table. I know you've done so much for Ryan. I know you raised him. But maybe he's right that it's time to let go a little? He's 32. He needs to build his own life. He stole from me, Sarah. He says it was from a joint account, that he thought it was okay to use it. She squeezed my hand. Look, I'm not saying you're wrong to be upset, but he's your only brother, your only family. Is $50,000 really worth losing that? I pulled my hand back. It's $51,327.81, and it's not about the money. Then what is it about? It's about him looking me in the eye and saying, so what? It's about him calling my boss to tell him I'm unstable. It's about Madison posting photos of Cartier bracelets bought with money I earned from 12-hour days and weekend tax seasons. My voice stayed level. Calm. That surprised me. It's about the fact that I kept my promise, and he broke his. Sarah sat back. Emily, you're my friend, but you've always had a little bit of a martyr complex about Ryan. Maybe this is your chance to let him grow up. By stealing from me? By making his own mistakes. I left my coffee on the table and walked out. I sat in my car for 6 minutes. Then I drove home. Then I opened a bottle of wine and didn't drink it. Then I went to bed at 7:30 p.m. and stared at the ceiling until 4 a.m. 2 weeks later, Ryan showed up at my office. It was 3:20 p.m. on a Thursday. I was reviewing a client's estate tax return when Diane, our receptionist, buzzed me. Emily, your brother's here. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. Send him in. Ryan walked in wearing a new suit. Hugo Boss, $1,200. I'd seen Madison post about it. He closed the door behind him. We need to talk. We talked. You told me to take it from your half. I was angry. He sat down across from my desk. Look, Madison and I have been thinking. We want to make this right. We're willing to pay you back. But we need time. The business is just getting started, and we've got some big contracts about to come through. We just need you to be patient. What business, Ryan? R&M Enterprises has no clients, no revenue, no actual business activity. I checked. You checked? His voice went sharp. You've been investigating me? You stole from me. Of course I investigated. God, you're exactly like Mom. He stood up, always keeping track, always making me feel like I owe you something. You do owe me something. You owe me $51,327.81. Here's what I'll do. He leaned on my desk. Behind him, I could see through the glass wall into the main office. 4 of my colleagues were trying not to watch. I'll pay you back $5,000 now, the rest over the next 2 years. But you have to sign something saying you won't press charges or make any more accusations. And you have to stop telling people I'm a thief. I haven't told anyone. Sarah says you told her I stole from you. I told her the truth. Your truth, Emily. Your version where you're the saint and I'm the villain. He straightened up. 5,000 now. Sign a release. Or I go to Richard and everyone else we know and tell them you're having a breakdown. That you're making false accusations because you can't handle me growing up and not needing you anymore. I looked at him, really looked at him. The suit that cost more than Mom's entire wardrobe, the Rolex she would have loved, $8,500 I'd checked. The confidence that came from spending someone else's money and calling it empire building. No. No? No to all of it. No settlement, no release, no more conversations. Get out of my office, Ryan. Don't come back. His face went red. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it with a clean conscience. He left. Through the glass wall, I watched him walk past Diane's desk, past the conference room, past the four colleagues who quickly looked away. I watched him get into his car. A leased BMW, $627 per month. I'd seen the paperwork when he'd asked me to co-sign, and I'd said no. Diane came in 2 minutes later. Are you okay? I'm fine. That looked intense. Family stuff. She nodded. She didn't ask. But I saw the concern in her eyes, and I knew Ryan had already started spreading his story. That night, Jessica called. I'm sorry, but I have to say this. Ryan's my friend too, and I think you're being unreasonable. He made a mistake. He's trying to fix it. But you won't even meet him halfway. He showed up at my office and tried to blackmail me into signing away my right to report fraud. Silence. Then, he says he offered to pay you back. $5,000 out of 51, over 2 years, while he and Madison live in my condo and spend my money on vacations. Emily, he's your brother. I know who he is, Jessica. Do you? She hung up. An hour later, Sarah texted. Jessica told me what you said. I think you're letting your anger cloud your judgment. Family is supposed to forgive each other. I didn't respond. I sat on my couch with my laptop and opened my forensic binder one more time. I added Jessica and Sarah's texts to a new section, witnesses and enablers. Then I found something, an anomaly in one of Ryan's earliest transfers. The receiving account number was wrong, off by 1 digit. The bank had flagged it, returned the transfer, and charged him a $25 fee. But the error message showed something else. The account belonged to Madison Reeves, not R&M Enterprises, Madison's personal checking account. I pulled up every transfer. The pattern was there. Ryan would transfer money from our joint account to his checking. That part was legal, since it was a joint account, even if unethical. Then he'd transfer it to Madison's account. Then Madison would transfer it to R&M Enterprises LLC. Why the extra step? I spent 3 hours researching LLC laws. Then I found it. If Ryan had transferred directly from the joint account to R&M Enterprises, it would have looked like a legitimate business expense. But by routing it through Madison's personal account first, he'd made it personal income. Taxable. Reportable. Madison had committed tax fraud. And I had the records to prove it. I sat back. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt sick, because even after everything, some small part of me had hoped there was an explanation, a mistake, a misunderstanding. But this wasn't a misunderstanding, this was deliberate, calculated. This was my brother and his girlfriend systematically stealing from me and then calling me controlling when I noticed. 3 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Law Office of Martin Hendricks, Attorney at Law. I opened it standing in my driveway at 6:14 p.m. on a Tuesday. Dear Ms. Thompson, I am writing to inform you of a mandatory beneficiary meeting regarding the Thompson Family Revocable Trust, dated August 15, 2002. As the current trustee and named beneficiary, your attendance is required. This meeting will take place on April 22nd at 2 p.m. in my office at 412 Western Avenue, Suite 301. All named beneficiaries and relevant parties will be present to discuss the trust assets and distribution. Please bring any documentation related to trust assets currently in your possession, including but not limited to property deeds, account statements, and distribution records. Your presence is mandatory per the terms of the trust document. Sincerely, Martin Hendricks, Esquire. I read it twice. I'd never heard of Martin Hendricks. My parents' attorney had been Gregory Wallace, and he'd died 3 years ago. Who was this? I called the number on the letterhead. A woman answered on the second ring. Hendricks Law Office. This is Emily Thompson. I received a letter about a trust meeting. Can you tell me what this is about? I'm afraid Mr. Hendricks is with a client. But he did ask me to let you know that this is standard procedure for trust administration. All beneficiaries will be present. All beneficiaries? You mean my brother Ryan? I can't discuss details over the phone, Ms. Thompson, but I can assure you this meeting is in your best interest. Mr. Hendricks has been administering the Thompson Family Trust since your parents established it in 2002. That's impossible. Gregory Wallace was their attorney. Mr. Wallace handled your parents' estate after their deaths. Mr. Hendricks handles the family trust. It's a separate entity. She hung up before I could ask anything else. I sat in my car in the driveway, letter in hand, trying to understand. My parents had died 23 years ago. If Martin Hendricks had been administering their trust all this time, why was I just hearing about it now? I pulled up the trust documents I had, the copies Wallace had given me after probate. The Thompson Family Revocable Trust, created August 15th, 2002. I was named trustee. Ryan was a beneficiary. The trust held the downtown condo, $125,000 in investments, and the house on Ashford Street. But Wallace had told me it was a simple trust, distribution at trustee's discretion. Nothing complicated. I drove to Wallace's old office. The building was still there, but his name had been replaced with another attorney's. I went in anyway. The receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for records from Gregory Wallace's practice. He died 3 years ago, but he handled my parents' estate." "We have some archived files. What's the name?" "Thompson, Stephen and Caroline Thompson. Deaths in 2002. She disappeared into a back room. 20 minutes later, she came back with a thin folder. "This is what we have. Most of Mr. Wallace's files were transferred to the families or to their new attorneys." I opened it. Inside, death certificates, probate documents, and a single-page letter from Gregory Wallace to Martin Hendricks, dated September 2002. "Martin, per our discussion, I'm handling the Thompson estate probate. You'll continue as trustee administrator per the original trust document. Emily Thompson is too young to understand the full scope of the protections Stephen and Caroline put in place. When the time comes, and it will come, make sure she has everything she needs. Greg, protection." "What protection?" I drove home. I pulled out every document I had. I read the trust document line by line, word by word. And there, on page 14, in section 4, subsection 2b, I found it. "Should any named beneficiary commit a malicious act of fraud, theft, conversion, or betrayal of fiduciary duty against the named trustee or any co-beneficiary, including but not limited to the misappropriation of trust assets, forgery, or any action undertaken with deliberate intent to deceive or harm, said beneficiary's rights and interests under this trust shall be immediately and irrevocably forfeited. All forfeited interests shall revert to the trustee or surviving beneficiaries as determined by the trustee administrator." My hands started shaking. I read it again. Then again. My parents had known. 23 years ago, when Ryan was 9 and I was 15, they'd put this clause in the trust. They'd seen something I hadn't. They'd prepared for something I couldn't imagine. And they'd appointed a separate administrator, not me, not someone I knew, to enforce it when the time came. I looked at the meeting date. April 22nd, 3 weeks away. Ryan had been summoned too, which meant Martin Hendricks knew what Ryan had done. Which meant I sat on my living room floor with documents spread around me for 2 hours. Then I picked up my phone and called the number on Hendricks' letterhead. Hendricks Law Office. "This is Emily Thompson. I need to speak with Mr. Hendricks." "I'm afraid he's—" "Tell him I know about Section 4, subsection 2b. Tell him I've been documenting everything, and tell him I'm ready." 5 minutes later, my phone rang. "Ms. Thompson, this is Martin Hendricks." His voice was deep, steady. "I've been waiting for your call." On April 22nd, at 1:58 p.m., I walked into Suite 301 at 412 Western Avenue. The reception area was small but professional. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, framed law degrees on the wall. The receptionist smiled. "Ms. Thompson, they're ready for you. Conference room is straight back." I walked down a narrow hallway. My heels clicked on the hardwood. I was wearing my gray suit, the one I wore for difficult client meetings. Professional, calm, unshakable. The conference room door was open. Inside, a long table, 8 chairs, and 5 people. Martin Hendricks sat at the head of the table. He was in his late 60s, gray hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. To his left sat Ryan and Madison. Ryan wore his Hugo Boss suit. Madison had her hair in a sleek ponytail and was scrolling through her phone. To Hendricks's right sat 2 people I didn't know. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a leather portfolio. A younger man, maybe 30, with a laptop. "Ms. Thompson?" Hendricks stood. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." I took the chair across from Ryan. Madison looked up from her phone, gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and went back to scrolling. Ryan leaned back in his chair. "So, what's this about? Some kind of trust administration thing?" "We'll get to that," Hendricks said. He gestured to the woman. "This is Patricia Chen, certified forensic accountant, and this is James Riley, my associate. They're here to help us navigate some complex financial matters related to the trust." Ryan's confidence flickered. "Financial matters? The trust is pretty simple. There's the condo, the investments, and the house on Ashford that Emily sold 6 years ago. We just need to discuss distribution, right?" "Not exactly." Hendricks opened a folder. "Before we begin, I need to state for the record that this meeting is being recorded per trust administration requirements. Ms. Thompson, as trustee, you have the right to speak first. Would you like to present your documentation?" I pulled out my black binder, all 40 pages. I set it on the table. Madison looked up. "What's that?" "Evidence," I said. Hendricks nodded to Patricia Chen. She opened her laptop, pressed a button, and a projection appeared on the wall behind her. "Bank statements. My statements." "Over the past 18 months," Patricia said, her voice neutral and clinical, "a total of $51,327.81 was transferred from joint account number 4738, held by Emily Thompson and Ryan Thompson, through a series of intermediary accounts, and ultimately into R&M Enterprises LLC, a company incorporated on December 14th, owned jointly by Ryan Thompson and Madison Reeves." Madison's phone clattered onto the table. "The transfers were structured to avoid detection," Patricia continued. "No single transfer exceeded $350. They occurred on varying days and times. However, the pattern is clear and deliberate." Ryan sat forward. "Hold on. That was a joint account. I had every right to use that money." "You did," Hendricks agreed. "Joint account holders have equal access. However, the joint account was funded almost entirely by Ms. Thompson. You contributed $200 in 2019. She contributed $15,000. The question isn't whether you had legal access. The question is whether your use of that access constitutes theft under the terms of the Thompson Family Trust." "Theft?" Madison's voice went shrill. "He didn't steal anything. He used money from his own account to start a business." "Which brings us to R&M Enterprises." Patricia pressed another button. The screen showed incorporation documents. R&M Enterprises, LLC, was formed on December 14th with no stated business purpose. It has generated no revenue, filed no tax returns, has no employees, no business license, no clients, and no legitimate business activity of any kind. Ryan's face was going red. "We're in the startup phase. These things take time." 18 months? Patricia raised an eyebrow. "In 18 months, R&M Enterprises has had exactly one source of funding, transfers from the joint account, and exactly one expenditure pattern, luxury goods and personal expenses." She clicked again. The screen filled with Instagram posts, Madison's posts, each one dated and cross-referenced with bank transactions. Cartier bracelet, February 3rd, $4,200. Bank transfer from R&M. Enterprises the same day. $4,250. Weekend in Cabo, March 10th, $3,100. Bank transfers totaling $3,200 in the 3 days prior. Hugo Boss suit, March 28th, $1,200. Bank transfer, $1,250. Madison stood up. You've been stalking my social media? Your posts are public, I said quietly. I just wrote down what you shared. This is insane. Ryan stood too. Em, this is my girlfriend. You've been investigating her like she's a criminal. I've been documenting theft, I said. There's a difference. Hendricks cleared his throat. Mr. Thompson, please sit down. We're not finished. Ryan sat. Madison stayed standing, arms crossed, face pale. Now. Hendricks pulled out a document, old, yellowed slightly at the edges. Let's discuss the Thompson Family Revocable Trust, created August 15, 2002 by your parents, Stephen and Caroline Thompson. He slid it across the table. Ryan picked it up. Your parents were very deliberate people, Hendricks continued. They understood that family dynamics can change, that money can corrupt relationships. They understood that one day their children might not treat each other with the love and respect they hoped for. What are you saying? Ryan's voice was tight. I'm saying your parents anticipated this exact scenario, and they prepared for it. Hendricks nodded to James Riley, who pulled up a new document on the screen. Section 4, Subsection 2, B, the Bad Faith Clause. Ryan read it. His lips moved silently. When he finished, he looked up at me. You're not seriously trying to claim I committed fraud. I don't have to claim it. The evidence does. It was a joint account, which you systematically drained to fund a fake business and buy luxury goods while telling me to take it from your half of the trust. My voice stayed level. Calm. That's not a business investment, Ryan. That's theft. I'll pay you back. You offered to pay me back $5,000, 10%, over 2 years, while threatening to tell everyone I'm having a breakdown if I didn't sign a release absolving you of fraud. I looked at Hendricks. I have the text messages, the voicemails, the witnesses who heard him. Patricia Chen cleared her throat. There's one more thing. Ms. Reeves, you may want to sit down for this. Madison sat slowly. The transfers from Mr. Thompson's checking account to R&M Enterprises didn't go directly. They went through your personal checking account first, which means you received the money as personal income, taxable income, which you didn't report on your 2024 tax return. Madison went white. I didn't. That wasn't. We have your tax return, Patricia said. You claimed $32,000 in income from your job at the marketing agency. But you received an additional $51,327.81 in transfers from Mr. Thompson, which you then moved to R&M Enterprises. That's unreported income. That's tax fraud. I didn't know. Madison turned to Ryan. You said it was fine. You said it was business expenses. It is fine, Ryan's voice cracked. This is all being blown out of proportion. This is insane. We're family. Yes, I said. We are, or we were. Hendricks picked up the trust document. Mr. Thompson, your parents loved you, but they were not naive. This clause exists because they foresaw exactly this situation. Your sister raised you. She supported you financially and emotionally for 23 years. She gave you opportunities, paid your debts, and provided you with housing. And you repaid that by stealing from her, lying about it, and attempting to extort her silence. I didn't extort anyone. You told her to sign a release or you'd ruin her reputation. You called her employer to suggest she was mentally unstable. You enlisted your mutual friends to pressure her into dropping the matter. Hendricks' voice was steady, implacable. All of this is documented. All of this constitutes malicious behavior undertaken with deliberate intent to deceive and harm. Ryan stood up. This is bullshit. You're really going to do this? You're going to take everything from me over some money? I'm not taking anything from you, Ryan. You took it from yourself. Madison grabbed her bag. I'm not sitting here for this. Come on, Ryan, we're leaving. Sit down, Ms. Reeves. Hendrix's voice was sharp. If you leave this meeting, you'll be doing so with the knowledge that I am obligated to report tax fraud to the IRS. If you stay, we might find a solution that doesn't involve criminal charges. Madison sat. Here's what's going to happen, Hendrix said. Under Section 4, subsection 2B of the Thompson Family Trust, Ryan Thompson's rights as a beneficiary are hereby forfeited. All assets, properties, and interests that would have passed to him will now revert to Emily Thompson as the remaining beneficiary and trustee. You can't do that! Ryan's voice was nearly a shout. I can. Your parents gave me the authority to enforce this clause at my discretion, and the evidence is irrefutable. Hendrix looked at me. Ms. Thompson, do you wish to pursue criminal charges for the theft and fraud? I looked at Ryan, at his red face, his shaking hands, at Madison next to him, mascara smudged, looking at him like she'd never seen him before. I thought about 23 years, about yellow doors and tomato plants, about a 13-year-old boy asking if I would leave him too, about the promise I'd made and kept for more than 2 decades. No, I said. No criminal charges, but I want every penny returned. Ryan, you have 90 days to return the $51,327.81. If you don't, I will file charges. The evidence is documented, the witnesses are available, and this meeting is recorded. 90 days? Madison turned to Ryan. Where are we supposed to get $50,000 in 90 days? Sell your Cartier bracelet, I said quietly. Return the Gucci bags. Move out of my condo by the end of the month. Get jobs. Make payments. Figure it out the same way I figured out how to raise a teenager at 19. Ryan stared at me. You've really changed, Em. You used to be kind. I'm still kind, I said. That's why you're not in handcuffs right now. Madison stood up. This time, Hendrix didn't stop her. I can't believe I wasted 8 months on you, she said to Ryan. Your sister is right. You're a thief, and I'm not going down with you. She walked out. We listened to her heels click down the hallway, listened to the front door open and close. Ryan sat there for a long moment. Then he looked at me. So I took my half a little early. Big deal. You don't have a half anymore, I said. That's the big deal. He left without another word. The room was silent. Hendrix, Patricia Chen, James Riley, and me. Just sitting there. Your parents would be proud of you, Hendrix finally said. They knew this would be hard. That's why they asked me to wait, to watch, to step in only when absolutely necessary. You've been watching for 23 years? I've been available. Your parents set up a trust fund for my services. They wanted to make sure that when this day came, and they knew it would come, you wouldn't face it alone. He pulled an envelope from his folder. Cream-colored, thick paper. My name on the front in my mother's handwriting. They asked me to give you this. After. My hands shook as I took it. I didn't open it. Not there. Not in front of anyone. Take your time, Hendrix said. The trust is yours now. All assets, all interests, all. The downtown condo, the investment accounts, everything. I'll need a few weeks to finalize the paperwork, but it's done. I nodded. I stood. I shook his hand. Patricia's hand. James's hand. Then I walked out into the April afternoon, envelope in my hand, and drove home in silence. I made tea. I didn't drink it. I sat on my couch with the envelope for 26 minutes before I finally opened it. 2 pages. Handwritten. My mother's handwriting. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Ryan has done exactly what I feared he would do. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from it. Most of all, I'm sorry that you've had to carry so much alone. Do you remember the summer you were 15? You came home from your first real job at the grocery store and you'd saved $200. You put it in an envelope and handed it to your father and me. For the mortgage, you said. You were 15 years old and you were trying to save our house. I cried that night, not because we needed the money, we didn't, not really, but because I saw then what you would become, the one who carries, the one who fixes, the one who keeps promises even when they cost everything. I saw Ryan too. I saw that he would take and one day, he wouldn't understand why you couldn't give anymore. I saw that he would call it love when he needed something, and betrayal when you finally said no. Your father and I created this trust with Martin Hendricks in 2002, specifically to protect you. We knew you'd try to protect Ryan. We knew you'd give him everything if he asked. So we built in a failsafe. A way to make sure that when he finally went too far, not if, when, there would be consequences. Real consequences. The downtown condo is yours, it always has been. We put it in the trust and told you Ryan could live there because we knew you'd say yes to him living there if we didn't. But it was never his. It was always meant for you. The investment accounts? Yours. We've been adding to them every year since Ryan was born. Your father and I worked with Martin to set up automatic transfers from our estate. 23 years of growth. It's waiting for you. Martin has the full documentation. Trust papers, property deeds, account statements, and something else. A letter your father and I wrote to Ryan on his 18th birthday. We told him about the trust terms. We explained the bad faith clause. We warned him that if he ever betrayed you, he would lose everything. He read it. He signed a document acknowledging he understood. And then, clearly, he chose to ignore it. Emily, you are not responsible for his choices. You are not responsible for his consequences. You kept your promise. You raised him. You loved him. You gave him every opportunity to be better. He chose not to be. That's on him, not you. You are not the golden child. You are not the controlling sister. You are not the person who keeps score. You are the person who kept showing up, who kept trying, who kept believing in someone who stopped believing in you. The money and the trust isn't your inheritance, sweetheart. It's your freedom. Freedom to stop carrying someone who refuses to walk on his own. Freedom to build a life that doesn't include fixing someone else's mistakes. Freedom to finally choose yourself. I love you. Your father loved you. We saw you. We see you still in every choice you make that honors the person you've always been. Strong, kind, and worthy of so much more than scraps. Live well, my architect of your own life. That's what your father used to call you. Because you built something beautiful out of nothing, and you did it while carrying someone else on your back. Now build something just for you. All my love, always. Mom P.S. There's a savings account Martin didn't mention in the meeting. Account number 87144922203. Your father and I called it the Emergency Emily Fund. For when you finally decided to stop being everyone else's emergency. The balance is $173,492. It's been growing since you were 10. Use it however you want. New business, new house, new life. Your choice, finally. I read the letter 3 times. I cried during the first reading. I laughed during the second. The part about the Emergency Emily Fund was so perfectly them. By the third reading, I was just sitting there, holding the pages, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Light. I picked up my phone. I called Martin Hendricks. Ms. Thompson, I hoped you'd call. The Emergency Emily Fund. Yes, your parents were very specific about when you could access it. I've been waiting for you to ask. I'm asking. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow. The next 3 months moved fast. Ryan made one payment of $1,500, then nothing. I filed the fraud report on day 91. The police investigation took 4 weeks. The prosecutor declined to pursue charges. Joint account, he said. Too messy, too hard to prove intent. But Madison got audited by the IRS. She ended up paying $16,000 in back taxes plus penalties. Ryan moved out of the downtown condo on May 15th. I sold it in June for $485,000. I used the emergency Emily fund to buy a small house with a garden, 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, and a yellow front door. Sarah texted me once, "I heard about the trust meeting. Are you happy now?" I didn't respond. Jessica sent flowers with a note. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I sent a thank you card. We haven't spoken since." Ryan disappeared. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that he moved to Portland, that Madison broke up with him the day after the meeting, that he's working construction and living with roommates. I don't know if it's true. I don't check. On a Saturday in October, I drove to Evergreen Memorial Gardens, Section C, Row 14. Stephen and Caroline Thompson, together forever. I sat on the grass between their headstones. I brought tulips, Mom's favorite. I told them about the house, about my firm. I'd left Anderson and Associates in June and started my own practice, Thompson Financial Services, about the garden I was planting, tomatoes and herbs and flowers. "I kept my promise," I said out loud. "For 23 years, I kept it. And I think that's enough." The wind moved through the trees. Birds sang. It was just a cemetery on a Saturday morning. But I felt, for the first time since March 7th at 2:47 p.m., like I could breathe all the way down. 6 months after the meeting, I'm sitting in my kitchen. Yellow door behind me. Coffee brewing. I have 3 new clients, including a small nonprofit that needs help restructuring their finances. The work is good, challenging, mine. My phone buzzes, a text from a number I don't recognize. "This is Ryan. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For real this time. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I needed to say it. I read it twice. Then I delete it. Not because I don't forgive him, but because forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone back in who proved they don't know how to stay. If you're watching this, I want you to understand something. Family isn't about blood. It's not about who shares your last name or your parents. Family is about who keeps their promises when it costs them something. It's about who shows up when showing up is hard. It's about who builds you up instead of tearing you down. I spent 23 years trying to be family to someone who saw me as an ATM, as an obstacle, as someone who owed him something just for existing. I was wrong, not about trying, about thinking that trying was enough. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the price you pay to keep someone else comfortable while they disrespect you. I was silent for too long. I let too much slide. I made excuses for behavior I would never tolerate from anyone else, just because we shared parents who loved us both. But love doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean funding someone's lifestyle while they call you controlling. It doesn't mean letting someone steal from you and then apologize just enough to keep stealing. Here's what I learned. You don't need anyone's permission to walk away from people who hurt you. Not your family's permission. Not your friend's permission. Not even your own guilt's permission. You just need to decide that you're worth more than the role someone else decided you should play. If you've ever had to walk away from someone who shared your last name to protect your peace, type, "I chose peace," in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and fight for boundaries that forced them to respect you, type, "I stayed and set limits." Both are brave. Both are valid. Both are choosing yourself. And if this story means something to you, check the description for more stories about people who found their courage when it mattered most. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the family you build is stronger than the family you're born into.